Today, I was reminded that we still don't have a live-action Static Shock, and that makes me sad. Hey kids, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, and that you are having a great day, and in today's video, I'm going to answer a bit of a viewer question that was asked to me over on Discord, and it was essentially, Uncle Frank, what is your take on scalpers? And oh boy, is this a conversation and a half worth having. And I'm 99% sure that the answer I have is not going to earn me any friends or fans. And basically, I don't think about scalpers all that much. And when I do think about them, I don't think they're as big an issue as a lot of people make them out to be. Or at least I don't think that they are as big of a problem as some people make them out to be. I don't think that they are ruining TCGs or whatever market they are currently in. Because, you see, I don't think scalpers are all that high on the totem pole of problems in the TCG ecosystem. I place a lot of things higher up on my priority scale. Things that I get worried about or upset about when thinking about TCGs, collectibles in general, video games, etc. Scalpers are not that high because of one reason and one reason only. 99% of scalpers, okay, and I'm going to say this slowly for you guys in the back, 99% of scalpers are not the guys you see at Costco getting into fights. They're not the guys blocking people from entering the toy aisle at Walmart. They're not the guys sitting in line outside of GameStop for 7 hours and making sure that they're the ones in the door first, buying up all the product. No. Most scalpers, okay, most scalpers are not those violent, rather idiotic individuals. Most scalpers are just opportunists who see a chance to make a lot of money because they see that an item can be acquired for MSRP and sold for much more than MSRP. Sometimes an item can be bought for less than MSRP if they're lucky enough. Depends on timing and all that jazz. But basically, most people who fall into the category of scalpers by way of most common Urban Dictionary definitions that I've seen, heard, and read, most of them are just opportunists who, for better or for worse, either got lucky or were pretty good at organizing their day to make sure that they were able to get a hold of the product that they knew or thought would be extremely good on margins when they sell it. And that's the other important thing. They have to think that it's going to be good for them to buy and then sell. Because not every scalper is right. And as we've seen before in a bazillion different situations, but I'll point out Chilling Reign because that's one that really burns in my memory. Sometimes they're wrong. Happens. So the thing is, I know that it's easy to get angry at scalpers. Especially when it comes to things like availability, price of entry, and even like it or not, kind of a lot of the bad reputation that some sets might have. It's easy to point the finger at the people who are doing a bit more to make an extra buck. And yeah, I know that this video can seem like I'm defending, those guys who, again, are getting into fist fights in the Costco parking lot over Pokemon specialty boxes. But that's not what this is about. This video is me saying that those guys are such a small percentage of the overall scalper population that I don't think that they are an accurate representation of what's really going on behind the scenes, because most of the time, people who are scalping are just guys like me or like you who happened to have been lucky enough, a lot of the time, to get the items that they knew were going to be really good on the secondary market. You know? And in a way, in a way, you know, the way I see a lot of the negative backlash that scalpers receive online, there's two kinds of negative backlash. This is how I see it. There's the genuine, and correct, genuine and, in my opinion, correct response to the violent outbursts or the childish behavior that some of these people do display when they are yoinking boxes of product out of one another's hands or getting into fistfights in the parking lot. That's an appropriate response. But then there's also the broader response that a lot of people have of scalpers are ruining the hobby. Scalpers are destroying the game and making it unattainable for the average player or kids or collectors or investors or whatever have you. And that is just, in my opinion, most of the time, that's just petty jealousy, petty grumpiness at the situation, because you know that if most of you, not all of you, most of you though, if you had the opportunity to pick up a box for, I don't know, $150 on the Pokemon Center and then flip it around and sell it for $400, you'd take it, right? If you had the opportunity to do it. I'm willing to bet that a lot of you would. I know I would. If I have the opportunity to pick up a box for, I don't know, $100 and then flip it around for $300, I'd take that offer. I'd do it right away. And a lot of people would, because a lot of people, especially in today's economy, with a lot of the things that are going on across the world in global politics and American politics especially, money isn't exactly easy to come by. Or I shouldn't say easy to come by. It's hard to make your money stretch through a lot of traditional avenues. So people who see what is essentially a cheat code, a way to make a quick buck for very little work, they're going to feel a strong desire to do it. They're going to feel motivated to do it if they can. So yeah, a lot of scalpers, in my opinion, are just opportunists who do what I and many others like me do, just with a smaller time frame. Because, I had a conversation a long time ago. I was a very young kid, okay? And this was with a store owner that I was very good friends with. Not at the time. I barely knew him at the time. But I wanted to buy packs of Cold Snap because Dark Depths was in Cold Snap. And at the time, I was fairly new to Magic. But I knew that Dark Depths was a really freaking cool card. It could summon a 20/20 token, and I thought that was the bee's freaking knees, okay? So story time. I went down to my local game store at the time, and I wanted to know if he had packs of Cold Snap in, and he did. And he was selling those bad boys for $25 a pack. And when I heard that price tag, the first time I heard it, I was beside myself with fury. What do you mean? You're selling these for $25. The pack retails for $4. He would respond. That's not how he sounded. They did retail for $4 or $3.50, I think. But they've been out of print for several years now, and they're hard to come by. Now, was that store owner scalping those items? No. He had just sat on them for a long time until they had become rare. But in essence, if you remove a lot of the more important details, scalping is a lot like investing, except that instead of investing time and money, you're investing opportunity and money. You are taking a gamble that an item you are buying now will sell for a higher price in a very short time frame. And that's key. That's key for scalping. Because I don't really... It's key for scalpers because when they are doing this, they are looking for high volume, high profits, and they aren't looking to eat a loss because they tend to park a lot of money into the things that they are buying and scalping, buying and selling. And when something comes along that they think is going to do great, and then it doesn't do great, they move on to something else. You know, part of the reason I don't think scalpers are a huge issue, okay, is because when a set comes along for a card game and it doesn't do great, and the big evil scalpers eat a loss, they aren't going to stick around for the follow-up set or the one after that. They are going to wait until they see opportunity in the market to make a big buck again. And they are going to move on to some other thing, other hobby, other video game maybe. Okay? So I don't think scalpers are as big a deal as, say, dishonest corporate executives or social media grifters or content creators who put ads in their videos for questionable products that nobody would even give a second look at if it weren't for the patented approval of those content creators they trust so much. You know, there's a lot of things in the TCG ecosystem that I personally, important words, in my opinion, that I think are worse than scalpers. Because at the end of the day, scalpers are just people like you and me. Most of them are just people like you and me who are trying to make a quick buck and will move on when the going gets tough. They aren't going to stick around. And their effect in the long term will be relatively minor, especially when it comes to a lot of the generally enjoyable sets that just aren't as hyped. You know, look at the Scarlet Violet base. And we're going to be talking about Pokemon because 99% of the time right now, if you're talking scalpers, you're talking Pokemon. Not all the time, I get it. But right now, as of the filming of this video, if you're talking about scalpers, you're talking about Pokemon. Nobody was complaining about scalpers when Scarlet Violet base released. Okay? Nobody. You know why? Because you could buy a box for $89. Was Scarlet and Violet base a good set? Absolutely. I almost said a swear word there. Abso-freaking-lutely. Scarlet Violet base was a really freaking phenomenal set. But because it wasn't hyped to high horse and heaven and back, it didn't have people buying it up trying to flip a profit. Cue Surging Sparks, cue Prismatic Evolutions, cue Journey Together. And all these sets are crazy hyped. And when they're crazy hyped, people are buying them up, hoping to make a quick buck. And far too many people forget that they don't need these sets. Far too many people forget that they don't have to buy the newest and hottest release of their favorite Pokemon-themed trading card game, right? And instead of just accepting that they don't need the new expensive shiny pieces of cardboard, they choose to get angry at the people who, through either luck or good timing, were able to get the new shiny cardboard. And they throw a fit online and get angry and whip up a fervor and say things that they might legally regret. Looking at some of you Discord groups. And ultimately, I think that is energy wasted. Because at the end of the day, no, you don't need the newest and shiniest thing. Materialism is going to drive you insane if you let it. If a product comes out and is scalped to absolute oblivion, right? You can choose to get angry over the people who are buying and selling it. Or you can take the active and conscious choice to step away and put that time and energy and that capital somewhere else. Maybe another set that isn't being scalped. Maybe another product line that isn't being scalped. Maybe something that is underpriced. The choice is yours. You can get angry or you can move on. And far too many people, especially in a lot of the online echo chambers, they choose to get angry. But that's really all I have to say to you kids today. And this just started as a question I received online. And I hope I got my point across to you kids very well. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. And if you're curious what I'm looking at over there off camera, well, I'm staring at the face of this little guy. I have this giant Chimchar plush that's off screen. Why be angry about Scalpers when you could buy Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists of the Roses for the PlayStation 2?